tried to apologise after the game. I can understand Owen Farrell was upset. And guess what? Our first team Saracens trip, guess who was my roommate? Got the key, went to the room, got to the room, click, click, door opens up. Owen Farrell was my roommate.
Oh no, fucking hell, not you.
Hello and welcome to the RugbyPass Offload with Max Lahiff and Ryan Wilson. Later on the show, we'll be joined by 4-time Prem, 2-time European and 1-time World Champion and ex-Springbok Schalk Brits. First things first, though, Ryan, having been dropped as captain, you do what all good men do, bail on your side's record-breaking defeat to Benetton and go on a 5-day piss-up in New York. How was NYC?
More importantly, are we just going to bring that up every single week, are we? I'm trying to... Oh, by the way, remember you got dropped as captain. Every week, just drop it in there. There you are. It's a bit strange, isn't it? I think someone behind the scenes who writes your little script might have it in for me. Gonna have to have a word with it.
What?
No. Disrespect.
The disrespect. I know the disrespect. Remember that I've got a new title now. You do know that.
Oh, an elder.
Yeah, elders.
Yeah, which means that's more important than the captain, I think, is what I've understood. Oh, boys, slightly jaded today. Where do I start? It was a good few days. I was there Thursday, Friday, wedding, best friend's wedding, for those that didn't listen last week, just in case they think I was on a jolly. And just to reiterate, I was at my best friend's wedding as best man. Can't miss it. Can you, Max? You would do the same, wouldn't you?
I have done the same. Yeah,
he's done the same. Not everything should evolve just around rugby. You have to have a life,
especially with me and you. We're sort of longer in the tooth now. We've been around the block once or twice.
Exactly. So you don't want to miss these important things. And then what was even worse was I was meant to be back Monday morning for training. Yes, we trained on the day of the Queen's funeral, which I didn't agree with personally, but I didn't make it back. And obviously everyone thought that I'd missed the flight from getting too drunk at the wedding, but that didn't happen. My flight was delayed. I missed my connecting flight. Took me 23 and a half hours from door to door to get back to Glasgow. 23 and a half hours the day after a wedding. Can you imagine the nick of me in the airport?
Oh, very ropey.
I flew to Gatwick, obviously missed my connecting flight because my first flight was delayed. Then had to get a taxi to Heathrow, £100, get to Heathrow, and they tell me I have to fly to Belfast, and then I'd have to wait there and then fly from Belfast.
What's that? You're like Tom Hanks from the terminal, just living in the airport.
Boys, honestly, it was brutal, absolutely brutal. And the worst thing of it all, it was all my fault. What my wife thought, it was all my fault. I don't know, boys. I don't know. Like, it's all a bit of a blur the weekend, but New York is literally like what you imagine it, like the homeless man with his toe poking out the end of his sock and no shoes, like with a bag of trash. Hey man, what the F are you looking at, man? Oh, sorry, mate. What are you doing? Why are you walking around? Everywhere you go, it's like out of a film. It's incredible, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you're walking around, you see all these famous scenes from movies that you've been fed as a child and stuff. It's mental. It's an amazing city. Very busy though. I'm walking here.
Yeah, oh mate, and everyone's so over the top. Everyone's so you go into a place. Excuse me, mate, can I get a drink, please? Hey, buddy, what do you want? Just a Coke. You want a Pepsi? I can get you a Pepsi, brother. Well, yeah, fine, Pepsi. Ice? You want ice with that, bro? Okay, yeah, it's coming up, bro.
It's the tipping, bro. You just got to be on it.
Yeah,
also, how good's the food though?
Yeah, the
food just. Oh my gosh, you can find such amazing food there. Like what's that place? Cat's Deli. Is it Cat's Deli?
I'll be honest. I pretty much lived off of the dollar slice pizzas because.
Yeah, those are special.
Yeah. I did have a slight upset when I got back. I landed in Gatwick. I looked at my phone and I had a charge of $170 for the, like the Boris bike things that you take around the city bikes. So old Muggins over here hasn't clicked it back in properly, and someone's cycling around on my credit card. That was a bit of a disaster. Yeah. But the wedding was good. The speech went all right, and I lived to tell another story with you boys.
I mean, did you actually get any shit from Franco Smith for bailing on the ship for their 33-11 defeat to Benetton?
No, because it's been in the works for so long that I was never going to play that game. It was more the fact that I turned up a day late for training.
Insult to injury, really, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see.
You used to joke about sort of going over to Italy, though. It was a jolly, guaranteed bonus point victory. You know, how worrying, though, is that as a sort of result?
Oh, hold on. Let's recap. When did I ever say that? There's clickbait shit. There's clickbait shit. I never said, oh, it's so good we go over there on a jolly. Zebra is a different question. I wouldn't say it's a jolly. It's always more difficult because you go over there expecting to win, probably. Treviso are a different animal. Like, I watched the game back. I had plenty of time to watch the game back, trust me, in the 23.5-hour trip. And give Treviso their due. They played pretty well. They had the bit between their teeth. Franco Smith, their old coach. So can you imagine they were paying for blood there? I'm sure they were. And they come out and played bloody well. We had a lot to work on, but hey, first game of the season. Can't get everything right.
Okay, not too worried then.
No, not too worried. All right.
Well, let's move on from that. Let's keep twisting the knife on Ryan. Max, you had a better time of things. Fabulous away win against Wasps. Headlines for Sheedy with that 18-point haul, but a good day all round at the office.
Yeah, it was good fun. I thought Wasps were very game. I just think they played a lot, like so many like half breaks, line breaks. Just they were just a bit sloppy with those like last passes, but our defense was canny. Like Sam Jeffries was our Kryptonian, just full Superman vibes. Like walks around the club like perfect posture, glasses, really handsome and nice, and then he gets on the field and it's just like he's a human javelin. He's just ending people. It's nutty, but like I think Mentor's got to Crossdale and Tom Willis. Tom Willis he's got bigger. This way he's got like a 45-inch waist. He's ginormous and just loves it. Just beating defenders like he was storming Helm's Deep as one of the Euroclub. Mate, he was mental. But yeah, great times all around. Scrum's good. Yeah, good game. Sheeds played very well.
No nasty confrontations out on the pit. Not seeing anyone in the car park at Adela Armitage.
No, it was good. It was good. Like, no, I had a good time with Wesley. Me and Wesley sort of got Tom West got at the same time, so it was a bit of a tete-a-tete, just like chatting away to each other. No, it was very civil, very civil. Holistic barbarism all around for the boys. Yeah, good fun.
We are delighted to be joined on the show by the most twinkle-toed of all hookers, Saracens and Springbok star Schalk Brits. Schalk, how are you, sir?
Guys, I am absolutely fantastic.
Lekker.
Hello.
You mentioned your internet might be a bit dodgy due to that load shedding. I couldn't believe it when I was over there, going out in the pitch, literally in the pitch black. When we were in, where were we? What's the beautiful little town with all the wine regions?
That's exactly where I live, Stellenbosch, France.
Stellenbosch.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Sorry, what is this load shedding? I'm ignorant to it.
We call it no electricity. So we on stage 5, stage 6 this weekend, and we've got outages of around 11 hours a day.
And they just shut all the electricity down. So like we went out for dinner to a restaurant, Max, and all the street lights are off. And I went into that beautiful little courtyard in Stellenbosch where they've got all the restaurants, and it's like everyone's just got candlelight. It's like really old. It's actually quite nice until like you go to eat your dinner and you can't see what you're eating.
Isn't there a show on TV where you eat in the dark? I can remember while living in London, there's something like that, eat in the dark kind of thing.
So
dating in the dark,
yeah, incredible. And it's basically just to sort of help with the electricity shortages, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that.
Schalk, how are you keeping busy these days? What are you pouring yourself into?
So, Max, it's quite different to my rugby life. I was with the investment holding company for 2 years called Remgrow. And then I was in the fund industry, a company called Southern Right Capital. And your timing couldn't have been better. I resigned went on a sabbatical from the beginning of September, and they will probably be around 6 months.
What, you're just on holiday for 6 months?
Correct. So, I mean, after the 2019 World Cup, I was straight into it in my suit and tie. Quite different to the rugby attire. And then sort of I felt I got some width in this industry. And I'm trying to figure out for the next 6 months. Well, firstly, it's a lot more working hours for a lot less pay, I would say. And then now the decision is to decide what I want to do for the next part of my life, I guess.
Yeah, that time and pay thing, that only works at different clubs. You're at Saracens, you're all right. Doesn't work everywhere.
Ryan, I've got no idea what you're talking about.
Low blows all around. Yeah.
See, that was not for the foreigners. It was more for the local based players.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
local.
The ones that wanted houses and things like that.
What are you talking about? I've got no idea what you're talking about, Ryan.
Well, let's crack into some of the. What we'll do, Schalk, is if we go through some of the Rugby Championship, get everybody's thoughts, including yours, and then really sort of dive into your career and all the amazing achievements in your career, and kind of roll from there and see where we go. But if we might as well start with probably one of the more or most potentially controversial talking points in a long time. Earlier in the week, Australia all set to beat the All Blacks, less than a minute on the clock, keep their championship title hopes alive. Bernard Foley penalised for taking too long to take a penalty by referee Mathieu Renal. The AB's going on to score and win. Okay, boys, between the three of you, hundreds and hundreds of pro games. Have you ever come across something similar in your careers? And what did you make of the whole thing?
I probably have come across something similar in terms of when it happening, but not at that moment in such a big game. Never, I don't think, in that. Do you know what I mean? The extremities of what it caused. So, but he just kicked the bloody ball. You could see all his teammates saying it as well. Kick the ball out. And he got enough warnings. So I'll give my piece on it straight away. I think it's fair enough. I think, you know how much I love the Aussies and all my mates over there. I think he should have just kicked it out. He should have just kicked it. There was still loads of time left on the clock as well.
You see Lalakai Fouquet just kick it off. He's like screaming at him. I'm like, yeah, fair. Yeah. But in that particular scenario, yeah. And also, I think Reynard was getting a bit wound up with how much time wasting was. Like, there was a bit too much gamemanship, and he was warning guys previously, and I think it just got to a head, really. So yeah, I'm sort of with you actually, right here.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Schalk?
Oh, just the most amazing championship ever.
How good is it?
I would say it's the first time that you really don't go into a game and you are not sure who's going to win that game. And I've made a lot of predictions, and I've probably been wrong most of the time. But it's just fantastic. It's just unfortunate that even if you take back to Fafa's incident and now this, and there's it's just a lot of controversy around from a referee perspective. Fair play on the ref having the kanunas to make that call. The question that I've always got on that is, if it was New Zealand, would he have done exactly the same? And I doubt it. From my perspective, he would have done it. But Max, as you said, they said kick the ball out, and it took a lot of time. I mean, it's sad that almost the game switches.
I know, yeah.
And the talking point is actually just that. There was an amazing game of Ragas beforehand. Exactly. It's unfortunate that something like that would be the talking point after the game.
But you kick that out, you've got 40 seconds. You kick that out, you can waste enough time walking to the line out to then win the line out. He wasn't ever going to waste the clock all the way to. So kick it out, waste enough time on the way to the line out. And
the question I've got, Ryan, is you've got a minute, right, from whistle to kicking it out. Was it actually factually minutes? I read it, well, you've got a lot of reports, I guess, but they said it was like 40, 42, 43 seconds. And you've actually got a minute to kick it out. So the question is, from a factual perspective, did he take too much time? It's sometimes I feel they can be quite anal on things like that when it's, I mean, he was, as he was going anyway, he was on the way to kick it.
Yeah,
and then he blew the whistle. It's not as if he didn't make an action to kick it.
Schalk, just quickly on what you said about the All Blacks, you know, you've obviously faced them a few times in your career. Is that the sentiment that you have, that they always get the rub of the green?
It was, well, it's every team that is successful or that is dominant, unfortunately, it feels like that they always get the rub of the green. I mean, for years, we felt New Zealand got the rub of the green. So I'm talking from even 2000s onwards. And even on club level, if you play against a team that's won it multiple times, it feels like the 50-50s normally go the way of the previous champion or the champion from that perspective. I don't know if you guys experience the same, but that's why it's always hard coming from the bottom and trying to beat the reigning champs.
There's definitely
how we feel in Scotland then, Schalk.
No, that's changing. The time's changing, bro. No.
Maybe, I didn't say.
Don't pretend it was hard up there with South Africa, mate. Don't pretend it was hard there with South Africa. Oh, you know, we never got the rub of the green. Come on, man.
Yeah, with the Springboks, yeah. I know what you mean, though. Like, I feel like refs can go into games knowing how dominant an opposition or how dominant a team is. And then they sort of, the perception changes with them. Like, they look at stuff a little bit differently. They're only human after all. So certain players get that rub of the green as well, especially guys over the ball. Like, they can be breaking rules, but because they're on a hot run of jackling, they get away with a lot more. Like, I think like Van Pocock, Richie McCaw, that year that Jack Willis like broke the record, like he was stealing everything. And like once the refs get that idea in their head, they definitely sort of have that perception already loaded up.
Genuine question from a sort of spectator point of view. You saw the Darcy Swain like horrific clear out, lads out for he'll be out for months and months and months and months and months. Do referees take that, and then would that have played on Reynald's mind later on with that decision at all? Do you see what I mean? Like, it should have been potentially a clear red, but you gave a yellow. No, do you think that's speculation and fans see what they want to see?
A little bit. I mean, if you think about it as a ref, yeah, you want to make the contest even. That must be going on in their head. They must be like, I've got to walk the fine line here. I've got to make sure it's sort of even to like make the flow good. So yeah, I think that definitely could have a sort of impact on how he decision makes like later on.
No, I disagree. I reckon they go into every game trying to go, do not think about anything else. Take it game by game. No, that subconsciously they'll be thinking that.
Yeah.
They've got to be going, do not think like that. You've got to, that's how they should be.
I agree with you what you're saying. Like, that's how they're coached. That's definitely how they coach. Like every situation's an independent, novel situation. But I think they also have like, oh, I've got to even it out. Let's give it back.
You think right now, so let's just get this right. You think he's gone, mate, Swain last week.
I reckon Reynald's. I'm talking more generally. I reckon Reynald's was the guy who doesn't really give a shit. He has that air to me. Like, do you know what I mean? He has that sort of aura about him where I think he doesn't mind stepping on people's toes and just getting it done. But there are definitely some refs who are like a bit more conscientious, I think.
Okay. Right. Let's turn our attentions with Schalk in the house to the Springboks, who managed to blow aside recent recreational drug rumours to keep their championship hopes alive with a hard-fought victory against the Pumas in Buenos Aires. Schalk, first things first, tell us, what's the reaction been in South Africa over those allegations?
I actually, in South Africa, there has been some rumours going about. I think it's more widely publicized outside of South Africa than in South Africa. I think I've only seen 2 or 3 articles about it. And of course, as ex-players, you hear the stories. And I spoke to some of the players, and I spoke to the people that didn't want to sort of tell us where it's coming from. But if there's allegations, you know, from our perspective, put the facts together and just don't spread rumors, because it's quite damaging with the perception within South Africa. The Springboks are sort of something that is phenomenal, still performing and still working, where our infrastructure and stuff is struggling in South Africa. We've got a lot of bad news. So that's one of the shining lights in South Africa. So if you bring that rumours around, bring proof. I think from a player's perspective, looking at the game, I think it upset the players quite a bit. They had a fantastic performance in Argentina. So I'm quite looking forward to how this develops. I know with Alton's situation, that has put a bad light on the Springbok and the culture. And now going forward, we'll see how that plays out and what exactly happened, because it's quite weird how the whole thing got publicized. And then, of course, Alton and Z flew back. And now he's saying that he wasn't with her. It was somewhere. So it's you're getting a lot of conflicting stories coming out the whole time from different sources.
Does it create, do you think, an us versus them even more potentially for the camp? Or is that particular instance now where, with Elton, where there's now a bit more finger pointing, where actually it might be quite divisive?
Actually, Mark, if you take, I can't remember if you remember the bomb squad situation in Japan, and there was a lot of racial tension in the side because Mapimpi was pushed out of the circle of the bomb squad. And of course, everybody thought it was a racial thing because it was a racial push, and it was got nothing to do. It was we wanted to make something special about the reserves coming off the bench, and of course, within the squad there was then every player got sort of a lot of hate messages on social media platforms, and then the big thing that happened within the squad, it was like Mapimpi went on social media and said, listen, this got nothing to do with color. It is just the bomb squad team thing. And then for me, especially coming from as a white South African, listening to this, it is like, how can he get abused for something that he genuinely said was what happened? And then it just felt like within the group, it felt like irrelevant of your background, race or religion, is some people just don't want us to succeed. And that brought us so much tighter together as a team. And so then the aim, I don't know if you watch Chasing the Sun, that sort of changed the whole vibe of the group and saying, listen, this is actually not about a rugby game anymore. This is about showing South Africans, irrelevant of race, background, religion, and where you've grown up. If we work together, we can be stronger together. And hence, that was the catchphrase, I would say. So I think from the same thing pulling it back to the Alton thing, in his personal capacity, he needs to sort out what happened there, and his family and kids comes first. Then on a different side, it's with the allegation with cocaine. I think once again, if it's grounded on nothing, that of course the players would have a big discussion about it. That will bring the players together. If of course the allegations are false.
Fair enough. Let's move on to discussing Schalk's career. You changed the mold of what a hooker should be. Not your incredible longevity in the game, playing past your 38th birthday, though according to your kids, that's not enough. Your side steps, behind the head basketball passes, outside breaks. And look, where did all of that come from?
Sitting in the backfield, that was probably my favourite thing I ever saw. It's like, what is he doing back there? And then, oh, that's why. Right, I get it.
See, Mark, I didn't have the body shape as Max, so I had to play in different roles because they would always push me in like a small little tin in the scrum. So I need to get some space on the back. And I was actually just a very lazy player. So I was more on the wing and waited for the ball around there.
Interesting. Wait, can I ask you a question? Did you do anything different, like in terms of like your strength and conditioning over your career to like explain your longevity, or did you just do sort of what Sarah's wanted you to?
It was actually, I think, Max, from the position like skill set wise, I always loved the technical part, passing, stepping, and played a lot of touch when I was younger. But before that, I was actually a wrestler.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
what, freestyle?
I was.
Look at Max. Max, don't stand up. He'll have a slight tent in his pants.
I love freestyle. Yeah. Man, I recently got into jiu-jitsu, Schalk. It was so fun. But yeah.
It's in 3 minutes, you can be more stuffed than in any rugby game.
Absolutely. Oh,
and
yeah.
I guess from wrestling strong neck, I just felt in the back line you don't get that one-on-one combat. And Ryan, you won't understand that, but that physical touch and technical know-how is quite amazing.
I get it. I like capoeira, the dance. What is it? Dance fighting.
Parties.
Whenever they make us go and do like jujitsu and stuff, I'm like, hey, I'm more of a capoeira sort of guy. I'd rather just sort of dance like Max in his skipping rope.
Yeah, like the skipping rope. Yeah, exactly. Movement.
At points were labelled too loose or with an X factor, which perhaps was seen as a negative by certain risk-averse coaches when growing up with the way you played. What's the worst experience you've had under a coach for playing your natural game?
Well, I can remember my first coach at Western Province of the Stormers. I was weighing 93, 94, and he said, I can't pick you if you don't weigh 105, 106. And that was sort of early 2003, 4, there around about. And well, at that stage, it was irritating, or I was annoyed. But I mean, every coach has got their own way of picking. And sort of at that time, it was quite emotional. I had to go away to another province to sort of to get some game time. And that was all after my study. So I don't blame any coaches like myself and Jake. Now we're better friends. But at that stage, you want the bigger players. And if he wants to play a certain style that doesn't suit me, I'll just go where I have to go. And if I picked up a lot of more weights and played it the way he wanted me to play, I would have probably played, well, I don't know, but probably played more test matches. But I prefer, for me, it was always, I love rugby. The game is amazing, and I love playing the way I played. And for me, it was always a situation that I will go where I'm getting picked. And if they don't pick me to play for the Springboks in the way I play, well, fair play. Then I'll play wherever I can play. And I was fortunate to always stay true to that, to the detriment of probably to my own career. But that was the viewpoint. My dad always said, why are you so hard-arsed about doing things your way? And I said, Dad, I play the game because I love it, and I want to play it in the way I love playing this game. And if I'm going to play the way hookers traditionally play, that's not nice. Or I need to change position, one of the two. And I didn't want to change position.
Let's take you back, Schalk. You attended the famous Paul Roos gymnasium school. Like a fellow friend of the show, we had Francois Hogard on here. Likes of Willie LaRue, of course, was there. Still pretty rough, old-fashioned type of place. Apparently, correct me if I'm wrong, I hope I'm not, you had a penchant for the ladies. How were you punished by your masters if you were caught trying to see them?
Like the old days, I would say. It's
what's the old days?
With the cane.
The cane. Oh,
the cane.
That was normal. I mean, back then it was because if you say now to people, like to my kids or to anyone, you got caned for being naughty or even talking in the class repeatedly, I'm like, what? I mean, back then, if they would not even, I'm not really talking high school, primary school. I mean, my dad, everybody got caned back then. It was not a weird thing. It was just what it was. So from that perspective, if you, even in class, or stepped out of line, I think in my last final year, it was a bit different. Then they said, well, we can't stop caning. You have to sit in detention. And we're like, detention? I don't want to be put in detention on Friday afternoon. Rather cane me, let's crack on, kind of thing. Yeah. I'll take 3 of the best, and then I can go play, have a weekend. Just sit after school from 2 to 5, cane me all day long. I hate sitting in the school. Yeah, it probably is not the right way to say it now. Okay, yeah, anyway.
Your debut at Schalke in 2008 for the Springboks against Italy. Can you take us through your recollections of that day and perhaps how daunting it was coming into a team of world champions with such big characters in the dressing room?
It was a rainy day at Newlands, and funny enough, it was just some guy sent me the team of way back then, and actually Frans Steyn was playing 10. I can send it to you. And now he's playing 10 for the first time again. So it's the recollection was back then. It was amazing. And this is quite, I guess, sad. You work so hard to get there, and then the realization when you play your first test match that it is great, but you want more of it, but it never happened. But it was just a great day. Parents there back then, girlfriend there, and just it was an awesome time.
Was it? I'm just looking at the team actually. Schalk, John de Villiers was in there. Is it weird? Like you sort of come through with him. I mean, there's some big names. The second row, Matt Field and Bakis Bota. Absolute beasts in there. But yeah, I mean, what was it like for you to kind of come in and be surrounded by some of those world famous names?
It was weird because club rugby in South Africa was very aggressive back then. I mean, probably one of my first games playing against the Bulls for the Lions. It was literally got on the pitch, first minutes, eye open, went off, back on, stitches on, poof, game. I don't know if it was Buckers or Victor that gave me a shot both times. So it was quite aggressive rugby, provincial rugby. Then you get to the Springboks and you think, oh, these arseholes, they open up my eye a couple of times. But then eventually, because back then you never socialized afterwards. It was you fly in, play the game, and you think, we're going to meet each other at Newlands in a couple of months' time again. And I think the vibe when you play for the Springboks, you get to know the guys and think, wow, he's actually a great guy. And sort of from that perspective, then your mindset towards the players that you think are idiots changes. I think it's the same, I guess, playing in the UK in the beginning. You get there and you just hear this guy is not a great guy. Then you actually have a couple of beers with the guy, and actually everyone's just competitive. They're extremely competitive. Some people just do it in a different way, and that's the beauty about the game. Is only late in life I understood that in the game you leave it all out there without really damaging someone. You play fair and you play hard, and then after the game you have a beer together and off you go.
Very true. I mean, so talk me through. From there, you then get invited to kickstart the Sarries revolution over a beer and a steak in Newlands. There's a story there. Weren't all your Springbok teammates surprised or even a little appalled you were going to a little lesser known club at the time in Sarries rather than, let's say, a European heavyweight?
Yeah, it was the big thing back then is, okay, fine, I can't move up because my basics isn't good enough. Line out scrums, that kind of thing. I'm like, how can I prove to you? And the aim was always going to France. Because France was a bit more open. England was too tight. The game is too tight. I can't do that. And then a guy called Dominic Sylvester and Brendan Fence and Edward Griffiths sort of, I had dinner with Edward and dinner with Brendan. They said, no, forget that. If you go to any of these clubs, and there was then back then, it was Claremont, was interested, and I was like, okay, let's go for a year, myself and my missus, now my wife, and then after that we can go to France. And 10 years later, I mean, I was still at Saracens, and the whole experience was actually phenomenal. I can remember the first, well, Ryan's going to have a joke again, but from his perspective, the first meeting we sat down before all the salary stuff came about, Ryan, it was like, the deal is, yeah, we're going to change the way we treat players. And I'm like, change the way we're going to be family and all those things. But the big thing was I can remember Brendan Fenter coming into the thing and say, we're going to make memories. And normally when people say we're going to make memories and results doesn't matter, you get pumped every weekend. And they sort of changed the mindset. Okay, fine. We're going to work unbelievably hard, but in return, we're going to treat you unbelievably well. And so 10 years later, it was actually unbelievable experience and memories made. I mean, all the ski trips we went on, we went to Verbia, St. Anton, Miami, all within the salary budget, of course.
Yeah. No, listen, I'm with you on that though. Like, I'm good friends with a few boys that have played there and play there. Sean Maitland's one of them, and he said the environment that they created there was incredible and second to none to any Premiership team. So I know they're doing things right over there. It is. If I could have gone there, I would have gone there. But one, I don't think Owen Farrell would have let me, and two, I don't think they wouldn't have wanted me anyway. So,
but the cool thing about it is, and this is factually, I mean, you can ask my wife and actually the CEO. It was back then. It was there was an offer from Toulon that was almost double my salary at Saracens, all on the books, Ryan. And I was like, went to my wife and said, listen, there's a couple of years left of my career. I was 31, 32. We just won the Premiership. And my wife didn't want to move. She said, I mean, where would I be happy and sort of truly happy wife, happy life kind of thing. And that was quite a revelation from that perspective.
Schalk, on your best sort of mid-season trip, and as you said, it was Ibiza, there was America, there was skiing. What's your sort of loosest recollection of one of those adventures abroad?
Miami was phenomenal. We rented RVs and went for 10 days, just traveling America with a lot of teams. Every team had their own bus or RV, named it. That was pretty rad. But I think for me personally, love skiing. I think it's something that I could never do because of insurance. Taking a whole team to St. Anton, although our first trip was Verbia, and going on a ski trip and jumped. Back then we were a bit crazy, but jumped off roofs with skis, did toboggan. It was a nightmare. It was absolute crazy. No one got injured the whole trip. It was, hence why we went. That was a miracle. But even if someone got injured, we would have said, it wasn't that. He slipped on the way to the airport, or because we wanted to go again. And it's just, things are just so much more crazy when you're not allowed to do it. And that was sort of the trip back then. But it was sort of a deal with, don't go too crazy, don't get injured, and let's have fun. And the weird thing is, Ryan or Max, when I look back at my career, I do not remember all the games. But I can remember. Well, I can remember very few games actually, but all those trips I can remember like it's yesterday.
Yeah.
The pictures that's in my house is not with us raising any trophies. It is literally those trips where we go streaking and nights out, and it's just those are the memories that you make. We all as rugby players focus so hard to win cups and trophies and all that thing, and you think that's the things you're going to put on and you work so hard for it. That was the biggest load of crap. You must enjoy the journey to wherever you get to, because too late in life I came to the realization, forget about being selected or forget about winning a trophy. Yes, you must focus on that, but enjoy every day, enjoy every moment, make the memories.
When did you figure that out?
Only unfortunately at 30.
Yeah. Fair.
And Max, that was, and this is sad to say, that was sort of my realization when I reached or played my first test match. I was like, okay, is this it now? I thought it was going to be so amazing. Yes, you get the congratulations from your wife or back then girlfriend, your mother, friends, and all that kind of thing. But nothing really changes,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's amazing. Great, you play for the Springboks, but sometimes the environment in certain teams isn't great.
But Schalk, don't you worry for sport now? Because I always think rugby's very far behind football especially in terms of pay, but in terms of like professionalism, football, because it's so highly paid, so highly strung. Those people that play in football, they will never build like the culture and the camaraderie that you guys built. I'm worried now that rugby will keep going that way. It'll get so professional that you won't be able to do that stuff because it's becoming a business. Like that's what I'm scared of, that rugby becomes that, because there's no way that clubs will be able to do what Sarries have done over the years. And I'm sure Sarries will have had to rein it in a little bit of what they used to do. you know, and it's definitely going to drift away from the sport. So future players won't get to experience what you experienced.
I think the same with us. It's if you take the generations when you started and where you are now, I mean, it's a lot more professional because the mindset is every every inch matters. Every
True, it's true.
You know, yes. But the point is, everybody say it's marginal gains, it's compounded gains, it's everything is. But they forget the human element. You need a place of belonging. There's a lot more. I only understood what you really feel for each other when you actually had not just tough times but great times together. People always try to break a team down to be nothing and then try to build them up. But if you have great times together, you don't want to disappoint anyone, to earn respect to the guy next to you, because he knows, if you start knowing his wife, his kids, his family, you don't want to disappoint him either. So from that perspective, I'm so sad for the future generations of rugby where and it's going that way. I mean, I saw a difference from my first salary was in 2000. My last salary was in 2019, or what I got paid to do what I love, rather. I wouldn't like referring to a salary. And just in those couple of years, it has changed dramatically. From alcohol use, from my first years was Wednesdays and Saturdays till the end. It was only maybe some weekends. You know, it's just the unfortunate thing. And people, the one thing that you need performance for, and that's my belief, is you need to invest in each other. And unfortunately, as a team, to perform better as a unit. And it felt like we're losing a great thing within rugby. And that's one of the core values of it, is the humanity side, the great sportsmanship and understanding each other. And unfortunately, that by getting paid shouldn't change that part of the rugby.
My question to you, Max, was going to be, right, ready? Just hypothetically, I'm just thinking in my head. Would you rather get paid, let's say, would you rather get paid £100,000 a year, but have, like what Schalk's talking about, the memories of getting to do all that stuff every week, like you're doing unbelievable stuff, creating great memories for 10 years, right? And you do that for 10 years. Or would you rather get paid £500,000 a year, so you're set up for life, and just go through the ringer and just have in at 7 a.m, finishing at 6? Genuinely though, I will not think you're fickle if you choose the money.
Mate, genuinely, I've never in my career made a decision around money. So maybe I'm stupid, and for that reason, but yeah, I'd go definitely for the former.
Yeah, I would. And I know I've got 4 kids.
But you've got other things to cash
every time. But still, 100 grand is still a lot of money. Maybe I shouldn't have said it there. I'm going 50 grand now. We're getting even less. But you're not going to be set up for life afterwards.
I know, but there's an excitement to reinventing yourself, isn't there? There's always money to be made.
Yeah, true. It'd be an hard decision.
Schalk, let's quickly touch upon 2018. You get a text from Springbok head coach Rassie Erasmus asking if you've got any more rugby left in the tank. Didn't you think it was a hoax or a prank from a teammate? Talk us through.
Yeah, I thought it was Vincent Koch. I was in Ibiza with the missus and the 3 boys. Sell out. I always want to go to Ibiza. Everybody said Ibiza, kind of thing, right? So we get there. It's a night out. Went for dinner, came back. Kids asleep. I'm having a couple of meters, or actually feeding my wife some meters to spend some quality time with her while the kids are sleeping, of course. And of course, I get this text message from an unknown number, and I thought it was Vincent Koch trying to, just play a joke on me, because they got together as a group, I think a week or 2 before that. And we were actually playing in 2018, we were playing England. And it was an Afrikaans, but the line was pretty much, do you still have got some gas in the tank left? And I was literally, yeah, of course, yes. My tank is almost full. I'm the quickest, prettiest, hottest, fittest hooker you'll ever meet. And after like 3-4 text messages of me going back and forth with this, I thought Vincent, and it was like 1 o'clock in the morning in South Africa. My wife, the lawyer, she said, just pick up the phone and phone the guy. Phone Vincent and tell him to stop mucking about. Pick up the phone, Rassie answers. I'm going, oh my goodness, what have I just done? So from that perspective, it was great getting back into it. But of course, I had to ask permission first not ask permission, but get the thumbs up from the missus, from Cambridge, and from pretty much from the unrivalled or Remgo, the company where I did my rotation.
Amazing
and
stuff.
So probably the shortest retirement in world rugby. Well, for a couple of players.
But you had Rassie's obviously one of rugby's greatest characters. You've worked under him. Have you got a good memory when you thought, "Wow, he's brilliant, but crazy"?
He's always been crazy, but he's always been amazing from a technical perspective. And I must say, so he coached me from I think 06, 07 to 09, and then he was very successful. The Stormers after that played a couple of finals and semi-finals after. Never won. But that not because of, we just had a great Bulls team back then with Victor and Fourie and Buckies and all that group. But when I saw him in 2018, and we played against Munster a couple of times, I had a great chat. It was a lot more certain of him. He's always had a lot of confidence, but he knew his strength and weakness a lot more 10 years later. And I guess that's all of us. We become more self-assured, and we not more vulnerable, but you're more open about it. And if someone doesn't like who you are, then it's fine. And the 2018 Rassie that I saw back then, taking the team, he had a very sure plan of where he wants to go. And he sort of the way the coaching team was set up, and then the team itself, I thought there was a lot of very good rugby players that was very keen to sort of not have record loss against Ireland and New Zealand and be 7th in the world.
You always play the game very fair, but we obviously can't let you go without asking about that infamous punch up with your teammate Owen Farrell in Hong Kong. A bit like Ryan's a couple of years ago in the tunnel at Murrayfield. Take us through what unfolded in that Barbars versus British and Irish Lions match.
Firstly, I should mark it. It was a great week with the Barbarians. A fantastic nights out. Not a lot of sleep, but I thought we got ourselves ready for the game. But in the game, it was extremely hot and humid. And the one thing, I guess, from my wrestling days, I hate being held on to. Like, it's a pet hate. I want to run to the ball, and normally it's someone just grabbing back, and the New Zealanders were great at it, playing off the ball. And I was like asking Owen, please let me go. And then sort of didn't let me go. And I to my own, sometimes in my career, a weakness, we call it the red mist, that it does happen. And then luckily I didn't connect. That would have been a nightmare. Imagine I gave him a proper punch and he missed the Lions tour. That would have been a nightmare. Luckily that didn't happen. But yeah, then I tried to apologize after the game. I can understand Owen Farrell was upset. And guess what? Our first team Saracens trip, guess who was my roommate? Got the key, went to the room, click, click, door opens up. Owen Farrell is my roommate.
Oh no, fucking hell, not you.
So it was like, oh my goodness, Edward, Brendan, what have you done? Or Mark. And it was like, then we sorted things out and cracked on again. But as you know, Owen can be a very intense individual.
That story is exactly what he was doing to me in the tunnel. Just kept yanking my shirt. Like, get off me. Get off me and leave me alone.
Yeah, so oh my goodness, I can't even believe it. They put us together as roommates, but it was good. It was good times to sort it out.
Before that game, you were photographed on the beers at Happy Valley Racetrack, even though there was a ban on drinking before the game. Did you get into any trouble for that?
Oh my goodness! So the thing was there wasn't a ban. It was we never decided to have no drinks. We went and said, well, the plan, well, they want us not drink at all. I'm like, barbarian trip, no alcohol, nuts. And I mean, I said, well, we'll tone it down. And so from my perspective, I didn't know that was in the UK papers. There was no, when we got to Hong Kong, there was no thing what no alcohol. And then the next moment, I take a picture with Marco Bensel. Of course, I put it on social media, not thinking anything about this. The next moment, wake up the next morning, time difference. Oh my goodness, bomb. Drinking ban, getting pumped by England. Then this happens, and it's like, oh my goodness. It felt like I'm an alcoholic from that perspective. People were thinking what a disgrace going against the team spirit. I never want to go against a team or the ethos of the Barbarians. It's amazing. It's one of the great teams or institutions I played for. Anyway, and then we got pumped by our eyes, and I got a red card or yellow card, and got a 6-week ban. So it was a dog show.
6-week ban for it as well.
I got 8 weeks reduced or 12 weeks reduced because they said in the fines meeting, I tried to hit him with an elbow. I'm like, I'm a wrestler, not an MMA fighter, buddy. So anyway, so I got banned for 6 weeks after that for that punch. I'm like, I didn't at the fines meeting or not fines meeting. It sounds like a drinking session at the what do you call it when you
the court session.
Court session. So I'm sitting there with the guy trying to talk through me. Wow, what kind of action of the punch did I throw? And I'm like, I didn't even connect. What you on about?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about the court session in the team. You're talking about the hearing with the officials, right?
The hearing. Yeah, with the officials. And they like, with the hearing, yeah, no, I tried to smash him and use the elbow to hit him on the... I'm like, come on, seriously. It's not that. And then I got banned anyway. So I had a great week.
Yeah, well, I don't judge you. I think you should be allowed to drink as much as you want on a Barbarians tour. So I'm with you all the way. And if it wasn't clear how much you could drink, then they didn't lay the rules out properly, did they?
Yeah, but I mean, I can remember my first 07 Barbarian game with, Jason Robertson was his last game against the Springboks at Twickenham. And it was freaking unbelievable. We beat the Springboks after they won the World Cup in 07. There wasn't a full team, but it was probably one of the best. I can't remember except that game getting pumped, but the Barbarians has always been unbelievable. That's where you get to know players you play against, and you think, oh, this is just such an amazing institution or team spirits, and everyone just there for the laugh, and then you pitch up on Saturday. So I can remember the boys 07. Matt Gitzo going out, texting me at probably 2:00 in the morning, asking where I am on a night out. I'm like, we're playing the Springboks next day, bud. And then they pitch up and go and beat the Springboks. And it's like, oh my goodness, these guys can turn up.
See, that's so we could go on that question. I would you rather do the whole week, right, on the piss up with the boys and then not play the game, or miss the whole week of the piss up and just play the game? Which one?
Oh,
which one? So you have literally the 5 days of the best piss up. You just missed the important bit of the game, very important, but you still sort of get a few beers after the game, or do you miss all of that and then play the game?
On that wonderful note, it's sadly that is all the time we've got left for this week. Huge thank you to Schalk for being such good value and opening up on a fabulous career. And thanks, as always, to Max and to Ryan. And we will see you all next week.